Hey guys, before we continue with this video, I just want you to know that this is the more so edited for YouTube version, and if you'd like to see the full version, make sure you go ahead and check us out over at Rumble and that you're following and subscribing over there. And without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about this rifle that we know you're very eager to see. Welcome back everybody, Clint today with Classic Firearms, here to talk about the M27 IAR. It screams Marine Corps, because this is the rifle that has ultimately replaced the M4 for most, if not all, infantry units up to this point. So originally this rifle was fielded in 2011, and it has made some serious waves. It wasn't actually really intended to replace the M4 altogether, but it did replace the M249 saw that you see right here. Both of these, however, are not full auto that we have right now. Anyway, support organizations like Gun Owners of America. Let's repeal the NFA. All right, cool, shameless plug there. Let's go ahead and let's just talk about why some people thought this wasn't a good idea. Because when you look at these rifles, obviously they are very, very different, which is one of the reasons the United States Marine Corps decided to do this. Whenever you're, I don't know, let's just say within an infantry squad, and you're an enemy sniper or enemy unit wanting to engage said squad, you probably want to take out the guys that have the heaviest firepower, right? If you were looking at these two rifles, you would probably say, oh, obviously it's that one. There you go. Okay, cool. So now you've eliminated the main gunner, right? That was kind of the mindset. So whenever you're carrying around something, I don't know, like this, for instance, this looks a lot more similar to this other than the M249, or I should say this looks a lot more similar to this rifle than the 249, or even the M4 that was carried around quite a bit, but, you know, put on ACOG. So anyway, with all that being said, that's the primary reason, well, I don't want to say primary reason, that's one of the reasons that they decided to move away from the 249 saw. Even though you are losing out on that sustained fire, you're also losing out, well, on capacity, because you're going from a belt that could be 200 rounds if you wanted to, or however much you want it to be by just adding more rounds. It's not hard to link ammo. Done it a lot, but you've gone down to now 30 round mags. During testing, they did actually test 100 round mags, probably those Surefire coffin mags, but they found some reliability issues with those, and they said, you know what? Let's just scrap that. Let's just do the 30 round mags. They first started off with all these metal mags that you see here, but recently the Marine Corps said, hey, you know what? Those aren't even good to be training with anymore. So if you're a Marine, like in the reserves or anything else like that, and you're still issued metal mags, go to your armory and say, hey, replace these with these Magpul Gen 3 FDEs, because first of all, they look a lot better anyway. Okay, cool. So they decided to go with the 30 round mags, which gives it not as much capacity, obviously, as a belt fed does, but at the same time, they're kind of looking at it like, hey, what we want is more accurate fire. They're kind of moving away from the idea of suppressive fire. I don't know how I feel about that either, but I will say that the M27 infantry automatic rifle is one that is loved by the Marines carrying them. How do I know that? I asked them at the integrated training exercise last year when I saw them carrying around the 27 and the M38. You're probably wondering, well, what's the M38? What is the M27? Where do these designations come from? Think 2nd Battalion, 7th Marine Regiment, or 7th Marines. We just say 2-7, or 3rd Marine Battalion, 8th Marines, 3-8. These are the units that are actually fielding these weapon systems. Hence why it's called the M27 and the M38, right? Cool. So when these units are actually out there in these training exercises, they're fielding this equipment. Now they're pretty much in this era, as in like 2020s. These are very common in the United States Marine Corps. You'll see them more so with the Knights Armament suppressors on them and a bayonet lug. That's really where this one isn't as clone correct. We have no bayonet lug. It's not the same exact barrel profile that's issued, and we don't have that third position, which it also seems like we're migrating away from, rear on burst. We're going with full auto in this configuration here, which is great. So what is the biggest difference between this and, let's say, the M4 that I just showed you guys that this is ultimately replacing? Quite a few things. First off, 16-inch barrel. They're going for the 16.5-inch barrel. Why? Well, we've done the velocity testing here on the channel, and yes, those couple of extra inches matter. So those couple of extra inches do matter because you get that longer velocity, or I should say faster velocity, which also in turn means you're getting a better accuracy downrange without as much deviation for bullet drop and things like that. Cool, so better accuracy, better velocity. On top of that, you're also moving away from the direct impingement gas system. Now you're going with the short stroke piston driven system that we've talked about quite a bit on the channel. Same operating system that the SIG Spear and Spear LT are utilizing, by the way. And ultimately, the MR556A1, the HK416, they're all pretty much in the same family, right? And that's what you get with the M27 as well. This is not an M27 per se. This is an MR556A1 that has been built out to look, I'm not going to say identical, but pretty freaking close to the M27 IAR. And with that short stroke piston driven design, it's going to have, just altogether, this gun is designed to actually shoot at a higher rate of fire with a longer sustained rate of fire than the M4 as well. Keep in mind, it is kind of replacing the M4, but also the 249 saw, so they're wanting to kind of mix the bags there. So much so that, well, even the optic that you have on here is actually the same saw optic that was utilized, the Trijicon 3.5 power with the 9 MOA RMR right on top. So they want to keep the same optic as the saw, the looks of the M4 with the sustainability of a machine gun in between the two. So there you have that. Now, what all have we done to this rifle to get it to where it's at right now? We added, obviously, the Vickers sling, which, again, is the standard issue sling for the United States Marine Corps. Harris bipod with the LaRue mount. We do have the Knights vertical grip and the Knights also flip-up sights, which, again, I'm a big fan of. Those just are really, really nice. We've got the Manta rail covers as well, and also as the Manta vertical grip cover on top of that. The HK grip also we changed out for another HK grip to match the correct style, and also the LaRue QD mount for the ACOG as well. This gun is just ultimately a heck of a lot of fun, right? It is set up exactly, again, how the Marine Corps likes to set up the IAR. And some of you might be thinking, wow, over, let's say it's May, which is Military Appreciation Month and everything else, which is great. Memorial Day, let's honor those brothers and sisters that have gone before us. But some of you might be saying, well, D-Day, there weren't any Marines at D-Day, June 6, 1944. What are you talking about? And that's where you're wrong. There were Marines that actually played a very significant role on D-Day. These were the guys that actually kind of went back to our roots in the Marine Corps, and that was sitting high top on warships that were overseeing these snipers, essentially, were overseeing these boats that were coming in, and they were actually shooting floating mines, clearing the paths for these Higgins boats and everything else to actually make landing on the beach. So pretty interesting if you ask me. These guys were doing some pretty cool work. Every Marine or rifleman in that aspect, at least that day at D-Day, which again, I think is just really cool. Forward observers and everything else. So they did play a role, though there were not many on the beach, obviously. They were there and a support role. So there you have that, a little piece of history, all right? Cool, so the MR556A1 that we've got kitted out to look like the M27 and ultimately perform the same minus the third position. And I really want to hear from you guys down in the comment section below. Are you excited for it? How, do you think you can make one even more clone correct? Outside of switching the barrel, and you could go to a gunsmith and get the actual bayonet lug added and all that stuff, because yes, Marines are still issued bayonets. Semper. So anyway, with all that, again, down to the comment sections where I'll find you. If you'd like to see maybe, I don't know, a showdown between the M27 Marine Corps versus Army type of stuff, M27 versus Spear LT, let me know. That would be a very interesting one, and I would have to try to keep all bias out of it. That is for sure. Yeah, I'd have a really hard time with that. Where do you guys fall? You know, I'm not going to let your decision dictate mine at all, but I am just going to say I want to hear from you guys and what you think. And let me show off too just the other side of this rifle. By the way, something that's pretty impressive about this rifle is you've got 3.5 power fixed magnification, obviously the RMR with the amber dot, 9 MOA sitting on top. Again, the bipod, vertical grip, G28 stock sitting up front, iron sight, sling, and everything else with it. I gotta tell you, for everything that's on this rifle, it's not all that heavy. As it comes, it's about a 7.9 pound rifle. With all these added attachments, you're probably looking at about, off the top of my head, somewhere in the 10 to 11 pound range. And it actually feels really, really good bearing that in mind. All right, so I do like these Harris bipods. By the way, these little guys are spring loaded. Push that and they'll just hop right on out of there. But when they retract, you just gotta make sure that they come all the way in. So there you have that. But anyway, now a few of you might be looking at this as well, and you might be asking about some of the placement as far as like the rail covers and things like that. Again, it really kind of comes down to the individual Marine and how they want to set this rifle up. But for instance, the piece that you see right here, these rails get hot. And a lot of Marines are being taught that thumb over bore method of grip, and you have the vertical grip there to add that added support. Some of you might be looking like, man, that's way too close. Well, there's a reason for that. First of all, you'll notice if you're trying to do these long distance offhand shots, getting a little bit tighter, even holding the mag well and offering more support is, well, it helps, right? So you got the sling that you can cinch up nice and tight as well. Again, the Vickers 2-point sling that you can loosen if you need to, tighten if you need to, big fan of that. With this setup right here, you can tell I've got it nice and tight into the pocket of the shoulder, and I can get a very stable and accurate shot off by holding this right here. Might not look all that comfortable, but I can tell you, I'm pretty freaking comfortable just like this. And then on top of that, if I do need to start sending rounds aggressively downrange and quickly, and the rail starts to heat up, I've got the rails now positioned, or the rail covers positioned in a manner that's not gonna burn my hand when this thing starts really letting it loose, just as you see right here. Again, you're talking about 900 rounds per minute, and if you're doing mag change after mag change after mag change, you're probably gonna wanna be wearing gloves, but these thick, rubberized Manta rail covers, they do a really good job at protecting the hand and making sure that, well, you're not burning up, all right? You'll also notice the position of the rail covers still keep some of the rail exposed depending on where you want to put your pec. That's again your IR illuminator / laser, because yep, we use those quite a bit as well still. So that's something that, you know, depending on where you want to put it. Again, I could probably take this one and move it back just a tad. That's a little bit more comfortable for me. There we go. That feels good. So yeah, there you have it. Anyway, the M27 IAR, this one's pretty sweet. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. Again, if you want to see more of a competition between these two, let me know down in the comment section below. Try USMC. USMC, you should know what that abbreviation stands for. If you don't, you're gonna have some serious problems, I guess. But we'll leave it off there, guys. Again, appreciate you watching, appreciate you and your business. God bless, and we'll see you next time at Classic Firearms.